Hello and welcome to the RWBY podcast. Today we are actually talking about the world of remnants we have gotten for Volume 4, because we didn't have an episode this week. And, I am the once and future king, Mediocrity 4.
Yo, high-powered. You always go second, dude.
I'm here, I promise. I'm the moderator, and I'm here.
That's high-powered. Being very smooth today. And I am the man who's upset that the latest episode of World of Remnant was not about Renora. I am Dudewuththeheck.
Yeah. Apparently high-powered forgot we were doing the podcast today until like an hour ago.
Yeah, he did. Until I told him.
I didn't forget. I told y'all I was going to go tip my fedora, and then y'all just started it.
Oh. You didn't tell us anything.
You didn't tell us you were going to be doing any fedora tipping, though.
God damn it. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get into this. So, Dude needs to introduce himself more properly.
He did.
I did.
He did.
I did.
Okay.
I said that I was pissed that we didn't get Renora this week, even though I know we weren't going to get Renora, but I'm still pissed that we didn't get Renora.
Oh, man. Okay. So basically, we had the great idea of doing this podcast because we got the last World of Remnant until basically the end of the volume.
Yeah,
Thank
God it's not, because I really didn't want the last 3 episodes to be interrupted. I actually think the last episode was a good place to have a World of Remnant afterwards.
I said it, I think I brought this up in the last podcast, was like, hey, we're probably getting a World of Remnant this week. We should do like a little fun podcast and just tear into it.
Literally, yeah, exactly. For those of you who haven't listened to our podcast before, we aren't exactly big fans of World of Remnant, so this is going to go fairly predictably.
Yes, and I have already made reviews of the first 12 goddamn things. And,
pieces of shit.
Yeah, a review of the next 4 is coming up in not anytime soon, because I got like 3 other videos on. And
there's much better things to do than talk about World of Remnant.
Yeah, I mean,
we're just doing it now because we don't have anything else to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so. I'm waiting until after the volume, and then after the volume I got like 3 videos before I get into my official reviews of the last 4 World of Remnants we've gotten.
Yeah, exactly. So we got 8 this volume, 4 leading up to the first episode, and then 4 more interspersed throughout the rest of the volume. The first 4 were about the 4 different kingdoms: Vale, Mistral, Atlas, and Vacuo. And then the next ones were about Between the Kingdoms, the Faunus, the Schneedust Company, and the Great War. So let's take some time to talk about the first 4, which, I mean, I don't know, they're all shit. So
it's Kingdoms Part 2, which up until one that we'll get into later, up until then, the Kingdoms World of Remnant was the worst, and it was the second one that played for Volume 2. And this is basically like just a redux of it, kind of. The first 4, these 4, the Vale, Vacuo, Mistral, and Atlas, not in that order. I think we're supposed to originally be 1 video, and then they're like, oh, this is just way too long. Let's split it up and release it over the course of a week instead of throughout a volume.
Yeah, so let's I think we should first go over sort of what World of Remnant is and why they suck. Why we don't like them so far. Just to kind of preface, like, the fact that we're going to be tearing all this shit a new one. Because...
we'll be tearing a lot of it. There are some good nuggets in some of these.
Yeah, but it's mostly bad.
So, World of Remnant is an exposition series created for RWBY that is supposed to better explain how the world of Remnant works. Remnant being the setting of RWBY. And a lot of them have different problems. A lot of it's just like inconsistent writing. Some of it has to do with the fact that it's like just all stuff we already know or would better be said in the actual series.
Yeah.
Something that invalidates the whole World of Remnant, or does what the World of Remnant does in 2 to 7 minutes, which takes like 1 line of dialogue to accomplish.
They become invalidated very easily.
Yeah, which is why I'm waiting until after the volume to actually do my wrap-up of these World of Remnants.
Because they'll probably become even more invalidated by the end of the volume, because we got 3 more episodes, so there's plenty of time for them to invalidate World of Remnant some more. And the other problem is just that the biggest problem for me is that besides sometimes the writing is worse in the World of Remnant than it is in the show, which I guess that's good because I'd rather have the show be better than World of Remnant. But the fact is that if they're really good storytellers, they could intersperse this into the show better, and that would work better than doing these. And that's a lot of the points I make that I'm going to make. I've written notes, and that's a lot of my points. Is that
like even when they're good, they are absolutely unnecessary if they were better storytellers.
So they're never good. Even the best World of Remnant is never great because they could always have made it better. It always would have been better if they gave that information in the story. So that's sort of the preface of this.
My very first RWBY review was for the first batch of World of Remnants back in Volume 2. And I made a point of, like, it would have been way more interesting if since they were already dead set on doing this, to have, like, different actors do the 4 different parts. Like, have Glinda talk about Dust, and then have Oobleck, the history teacher, talk about kingdoms and their history, and have Port, the Grimm teacher, talk about the Grimm.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it more like they're in school or something like that. Yeah. Yes, that would have been very cool. Would have made it better. Still would have made it unnecessary, but it would have made it better.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like about this Kingdoms Part 2 thing, is that it does feel like Crow is sitting a class of students to get down and being like, okay, time for your history lesson, or more cases than not, geography lesson.
Yeah, and the one thing that's consistently at least good about these, literally the only thing, at least personally, is I enjoy the art style that they use.
I do too, and it's something that they did in Volume 1.
It is aesthetically the opening monologue to the palette.
Yes.
That is the one. If I cannot knock the World of Remnants for that in any way, shape, or form.
The visuals are always very interesting, and not always necessarily interesting, but sometimes sometimes they actually have some clever visuals, and they do always look very nice. So that is the one good thing about them. The other big issue I have with them overall is that as a history major, the fact that there's no context to them is confusing, and it also makes them even more pointless than they already were, because how can you tell about history, which much of these are history and geography lessons, without giving dates and relative timestamps? And they don't give anything like that in these, so that makes them even more bullshit.
Yeah, like we only got one specific date in the entire series, and that's that the war ended 80 years before the series began. That is the only thing we know as far as timeline goes.
I mean, this series doesn't even have a calendar, months of the year. They don't even have years. We don't know what year it is, even relative to what their own, yearly markers are, which I think is kind of ridiculous, because most other shows give at least general timestamps to when things are happening.
Oh my god!
It's not winter anymore, and that's about it.
Yeah, I've been playing Skyrim, and Skyrim has like different freaking days of the it still has 7 days a week, but the days of the week are named differently, and you can like go to your menu or whatever and see what day it is.
I mean, Star Wars gives relative time. I mean, freaking Lord of the Rings, that guy's an absolute master of that shit.
Well, and here's the thing.
But then again, Lord of the Rings is literally probably the greatest fantasy.
Here's the thing.
That guy's insane.
J.R.R. Tolkien built Middle Earth over the course of upwards of, I think, like 20, 30 years. A long fucking time. Before he wrote
anything. And he wasn't even finished when he died.
Yeah.
He was still working on it when he died.
Yeah, and he was still like doing like all these things. Like there's a whole nother book that's just the lore of Lord of the Rings, and 90% of that has absolutely no relevance to the actual Lord of the Rings story, and isn't even hinted or mentioned in that story. But that's just all stuff that he came up with to make the world feel richer. Whereas Miles, Carey, and Monty, they came up with most of the stuff at 3 a.m. at an IHOP one night.
And it would be
better. Is
better
that the actual story?
I know that's how they got the map. I know that the map was a ketchup stain from.
They talk about IHOP meetings all the time. They've been doing multiple IHOP meetings, and the thing is, like, I can understand why they're doing that, but IHOP is shit, dude. Like, IHOP is terrible food.
I like IHOP.
Their pancakes are garbage. I know what I mean. Pancakes from scratch with real maple syrup, dude. Not this IHOP shit. Anyway, let's get into the first episode because we
are definitely not going to be sponsored by IHOP now.
Yeah, I don't care. I really don't.
We're not sponsored by anybody.
We're gonna be fucking sponsored by anybody. So who cares? Let's get into Vale because we're trying to actually make this quicker than normal, as usual. With only 3 people, we're still gonna manage to make this way too long.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Vale. I think this was actually one of the worst ones because we
already know everything.
There's literally no new information from this, except the only thing they kind of mentioned that's slightly new is that they have control of some towns along the coast, which again, literally 2 or 3 seconds of dialogue in an episode could have given us.
Well, and
we don't even need that. We don't even need.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like the Vale one is definitely like. When I watched it for the first time, when it first dropped, I was like, oh my god, they split up one World of Remnant into 4. And it shows because they actually only spend a third of that World of Remnant talking about Vale, and the other 2/3 are setting up and restating what was in the Kingdom's World of Remnant a few years ago. The whole, like, villages pop up and disappear. All the time.
Goes down, no big deal.
Yeah, the Grimm are way more dangerous off screen than they are on screen because nobody knows how to do a monster fight. And then it goes into Vale, and it's like Vale is really was really secure because it had like mountains and shallow seas, and because of that, the people in Vale have like a really carefree attitude, and then that's really all we'd learn. And granted, we didn't learn that much in the 3 years we spent in Vale, but still, they had a whole video dedicated to Vale, and then only dedicated a third of it to Vale.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the problems with the show in general is that they had multiple opportunities throughout the first 3 volumes to give more clues into Vale's community and Vale's way of life and their culture and everything, and they literally never took any time to show that in any way whatsoever. Like, it's inspired to miss that much of an opportunity to give any clue about a kingdom's culture. Vale, honestly, has no personality at all. It's really stupid. Yeah. It's really sad.
It was really bad to set the series there if they weren't going to make it the most interesting. I mean,
Atlas, with one episode with Weiss, Atlas has more personality than Vale.
Yeah, and the world
even before that
was passable.
Yeah, and it
actually had an interesting history to it.
And even before that, with just Ironwood's introduction, showed a lot of like what Atlas is all about, without saying anything. It's just Glenn's like, oh, he sure likes to take his work with him, and then Osmond makes a pass of like he leads both the Huntsman Academy and the military, so he's really busy. Boom, like that right there. We already know more. Yeah, one line. We know more about Atlas than we had at a Vale at that point, and that was the beginning. That was towards the beginning of Volume 2.
That's extra icing on the cake too. Also,
yeah. That's the volume after that.
Nice pun. I bow.
God damn it.
I bow.
But I was also going to say that the other part of Ironwood's job is to go take a bite out of that Christmas cake known as Glinda.
I know that's a theory, man. We all know that's a theory.
I think it's more than a theory.
It's in my mind, it's an OTP. It's just they're too.
It's a headcanon.
It is headcanon. It's headcanon for me too. It is my headcanon as well. It's most people's headcanon. Let's be real here.
All right, so let's talk about the Mistral one. The Mistral one is that
was the next one.
The Mistral one should have been better because. Okay, well, here's the thing, though. I could forgive the Mistral one a little bit because they'll probably show up in Mistral like the last episode. But that's basically it.
But again, we don't need to know about Mistral before we get there. We could learn about it when we get there.
And it was all about the kingdom, and we did get a lot of information on Mistral. We learned that like they're really art heavy. They do like I guess like they're basically like LA and New York together.
Yeah,
it's literally theater. It's your theater class. The continent.
It's theater. It's theater, art, and crime. I mean trust me. I live near LA. Yeah. That's what LA is. Everybody knows that LA for being extremely diverse. A lot of art, a lot of culture, a lot of music, and a lot of crime. So yeah, you're right. Very much the same thing.
I think they were going somewhere with that.
But the other thing I had to point out is this information is made invalid irrelevant by a future world of Remnant in the same volume. It's such bullshit. By the fucking last one, the Great War basically goes over this information.
Well, no, I think the Great War one was more supposed to be like, okay, you know all this stuff about like between the kingdoms and such and such. Now it's time to like tie it all together and how the world became united ultimately.
Yeah, the last World War we got was to put everything in a pile it up relatively neatly in a box, and then
in fairness, that was probably the best one, although it's still kind of irrelevant. But at least it was actually decent. But I still feel like that information was kind of made irrelevant by that. And they could have given us that information in other ways because we know other people were from Mistral and have been to Mistral. We learned that in this volume alone. We know basically that Ren and Nora are from Mistral. We definitely knew Pyrrha was from Mistral. And we knew, and it seems like Jean's been to Mistral also.
Or is from Mistral. Yeah. Well,
so vacation
vacation at Xi'an.
So there's a lot of opportunity for us to get this information in other ways. So, but I mean, some of it's interesting. I like the idea that people lived on the cliffs and things like that. I mean, that's kind of interesting. The only thing that I can think of that was like they sort of wanted to use it to hint was the fact that they wanted to mention Kuchinashi as a hint toward what was coming in the end of the season because they did the whole thing about all the other names of the towns meaning something, but that's probably me in my Renora headcanon, so that probably wasn't on purpose either.
Kuchinashi is not the only town. They talk about they talk about Kuchinashi and Windfall as two like big crime centers.
Yeah. So
I like the concept they just a boatload of crime too also. And then the crime part's actually better represented in the episode with Ozpin around the campfire, saying,
you mean Crow around the campfire.
Fuck. Crow around the campfire saying, it's hard to pay thieves to...
except he was talking about Vacuo there.
Except he was talking about Vacuo there.
Which makes absolutely no fucking sense.
I was going to say, that statement would have made more sense. That line would have made more sense with... I'm tired.
Mistral.
Yeah, well, we're talking about World of Ribbons, which are shit, and then you're referencing the shittiest episode of the volume. So, I mean, there's some. Yeah, I think it is, to be honest. Because it was longer and bad, and it should have been better. It should have been better. It was a much bigger disappointment than Vanessa. So, yeah, it was worse.
But yeah, I mean, we didn't really we learned some stuff, but it's kind of just like, okay, we learned stuff, and it's not like super relevant or anything.
Let's get to Atlas, which is actually the best of those four, I would say,
but also the worst in one regard.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we do. I mean, again, more redundant information that we learn more about later, anyways. Which Mantle came first. Grimm are defeated by the weather, which makes no sense because we had no context for that previously.
Yeah, you think that would have been... They could have dropped that line super easy. It's like, like in the Grimm, like for example, in whenever they're talking about the Grimm, they could have been like, oh, and by the way, the Grimm don't like it whenever it's really hot outside or whenever it's really cold.
Yeah,
they haven't figured out how to put on jackets or thermal underwear yet.
Yeah, because it's weird that the Grimm were defeated, even though the Grimm seem to be super tough and stronger than most humans, yet the humans were able to live in basically what is Antarctica. Well, not Antarctica, the Arctic. Really, really northern Canada.
It's more like Skyrim.
Yeah, or like Iceland.
Yeah. Again, well, no, Iceland is green and Greenland is ice. So
yeah.
Man, actually no, because that kingdom is colder than where Iceland is. It seems like it's literally covered in ice.
It's a Viking thing. That's actually why I brought up Skyrim, because probably more people who listen to this know Skyrim than know the Nordic countries. But the whole Nordic culture is based around cold mountaintop stuff, and the Vikings discovered both Iceland and Greenland, and in order to keep the lush tundra to themselves, they called it Iceland and called the barren ice wasteland Greenland, just to fuck with people.
So wait, Media, are you saying that people that listen to a podcast about an American anime show like to play a lot of video games rather than learn about history?
Oh boy, you're gonna trigger
Yes.
a lot of people in the comments calling RWBY an anime.
I know.
I don't consider it. I'm someone who doesn't really consider it an anime because, like, what even is that? But I consider it just a web series. I don't even consider it a TV show or anything.
For the record,
just call it a web series.
Yeah, for the record, I do not give a shit what it is. I like it.
Yeah.
It's whatever the fuck it is, I don't care. So I just like to say anime because it will trigger people, and that makes it funny. I could not care less. It's RWBY. Anyway, yeah. So that made no sense about the Grimm. They said the climate forced them to develop technology. Yeah, I kind of understand the necessity is the mother of invention. But again, how are they able to survive to invent the technology if the Grimm froze?
It kind of implies that they dug tunnels, like they lived underground, and maybe it's warmer down there. But then, like, how did they
dig down deep enough? It'll start getting warm.
Yeah.
No matter where you're at.
So
gets to the end of the volume, and we find out that Atlas is at the base of like a volcano or something.
It's like a really cold version of Gurren Lagann.
It's just sitting on top of a fucking inactive volcano or something, and then Salem uses her black magic or whatever to get the volcano to blow up and wiping out all the Atlas. I swear to God, if
that would be so cool.
Does this?
That actually be dope.
I will hire a lawyer and I will sue them over
it. We'll be your witnesses. We have to be. We're the only two here.
# make Atlas melt.
Actually, okay, here's the thing though. I like that they bring in Mantle because I feel it will become of some importance later on down the road.
I like the idea of Mantle and Atlas, like, and their relationship. I do like that. I think that's.
I honestly think that could be not now, but definitely later. That could be a plot point for Weiss. Weiss does the whole make Mantle great again.
We're gonna just keep making these jokes, but yeah. So what happened next? So yeah, then the war encouraged their expansion improvements, and the school was really important at where Atlas. The school eventually became renamed Atlas, and it ended up becoming more important than Mantle, and it overtook Mantle basically.
And then Mantle was forgotten about.
Yeah, but we don't really know why or how or why that was even such a big deal. And we also don't really know the timeline, although we can confirm that was until a little ways after the Great War ended.
Yeah. But again, still not enough time frame given. I think they should have given more. And also, as always,
it is not at all what they freaking implied in the world of Remnant. Like in the Atlas world of Remnant, they made it sound like it was almost instant after the Great War that they changed to Atlas.
Yeah, and the other thing is we kind of get hints of Mantle being less powerful in regards to Atlas in the episode with the socialites in Atlas. They could have just added maybe 1 or 2 more lines of dialogue to give us all the explanation that we got in the world of Remnant about all this.
Mm-hmm.
Not really, again.
Or at least reinforce what was stated in the world of Remnant.
Again, but that's just more so proves that the world of Remnant is completely unnecessary.
Yeah, that's true. Fuck.
Although, I'm trying to think, I think that was the first in-universe mention of Mantle.
Yeah. We've never heard about Mantle until the World of Remnant.
No, it was the Vital I think it was the Vital Festival tournament, World of Remnant, that first talked about Mantle.
I just think, see, that's the thing. They never mentioned Mantle before, and then we actually get to hear, maybe even just a 20 or 30-second conversation from the socialites in that episode. That would have been really cool. That would have been a much more interesting reveal, and we would have been asking more questions about it so they could explain it in the universe, in a plot line somewhere down the road. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always for world building with dialogue and stuff, and making everything into a history lesson about the world. Lord of the Rings is a master class at world building, and we'll probably be referencing it quite a bit in this podcast, even though we already have
songs are world building elements. It's nuts.
Yeah, each freaking race even has a couple songs that they like. But in Fellowship of the Ring, when they're going to they're trying to get over the mountain, and then Saruman's messing with the weather and stuff, and then it's oh, we gotta go through. We have no choice. We have to cut through the mines of Moria. and then there's like these little bit of dialogue in this flashback with Gandalf that like explains what Moria is and why Gandalf doesn't want to go there, but why Gimli does.
Yeah, exactly. More world building. Oh, see, why can't RWBY do that?
And they do it in like 3 minutes. They do it in less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if we could have just had that for a conversation in that Weiss episode after the concert, that would have been so much cooler. And they wouldn't even have to explain all of it. We could just be then they could be asking questions about it, and that would generate hype, and that would be more interesting to me.
Like for instance, Menagerie. And I can't believe I'm about to defend this episode.
That episode.
But Menagerie was first introduced to us back in Volume 1 during Dr. Oobleck's spiel about the Faunus War and how, like, the people...
The Faunus had binoculars, and that's why they won the battle.
Yeah, well, I think it was before that, but how the people wanted to, like, relocate all the Faunus to Menagerie, and he points to the board, like, okay, boom, now we have that visual indicator, we know where Menagerie is. And then it's mentioned a few more times in the series, like 1 or 2 more times in the series. And then in episode 3 it's like, I'm going back home to Menagerie, and like, okay, so now like, and because of other World of Remnants and stuff, we know that's the Faunus homeland. And then we actually see it, and Blake explains like, this is how Menagerie works. We have a chieftain, we're not technically a kingdom, and it's crowded here, but we can't really show that it's crowded because rendering's a pain in this engine. But yeah, it's supposed to look really crowded, and most of it's inhospitable, and you can actually see that on the map from like the beginning of the series, where it's like the island Menagerie looks like a fish, and the fish tail is green, and then everything else is just desert. And like that's good world building. That's why it's meant in my previous review. It was for episode 8, the big exposition dump, where I was like, sometimes RWBY does get world building right. Sometimes.
Yeah, and that's why couldn't we have that instead of all these World of Remnants instead? Like, they know they can do it. They've done it. They're not the best at it, but I mean, nobody's J.R.R. Tolkien. Literally, no one's even close to world building as he is. So you can't. It's okay if they're not as good as he is at it, but at least try to be more in that vein rather than even have World of Remnants. So let's go. Should we go to Vacuo next?
Yeah, because if I were to choose a kingdom to live in Remnant, I would choose Vacuo because, they had it right.
Vacuo is literally libertarian land.
It is.
It's just like, where is the "Don't Step on Me, Snake" flag, and I'll just replace that. I'll just copy paste that over Vacuo.
Yeah, Vacuo started as a paradise oasis, and they had lots of natural resources, and they had.
They're the only ones who realize that, hey, negative emotions make grim, but we shouldn't turn off our negative emotions. We should just live and let live, and have fun, and party, and just lay around, and have fun. And then all the other kingdoms came in and were like, fuck your fun, and we're taking your dust. And Vacuo was like, oh man. And then the Great War happened, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's basically it. There seems to be less racism there because they don't seem to care. They do show that there's like faunus there. I mean, in the Great War.
And again, like they hinted at that back in Volume 1 with Sun.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did exactly.
Because Sun is from Vacuo, but moved to Mistral to go to school, and
he seems very confused by the extreme levels of prejudice other places in the world, which is shown again in an episode that I can't believe we're defending again, the Menagerie episode. But that does do a good job of world building. That's why. See, that's the thing. That's why that episode is better than the Crow episode.
Because I think you're starting to win me over with that argument.
It's actually because there's actually some good world building in that episode before all the shit happens. And there's really the world building in the Crow episode is all garbage, So that's another example of we didn't need this. That's implied. And the thing is, here's the biggest problem with the World of Remnants is the World of Remnants basically are made in a way that the writers of RWBY assume that all of their fans are complete fucking idiots. And they need everything spoon-fed to them over and over and over again. And that they can't just like learn things and interpret things through the actual episodes themselves. And that is really a big problem with these.
Which,
and that's
you know what? They're not exactly wrong.
Yeah, I know, but then people like us, and I'm sorry to sound like a cocky asshole, but us three are not that stupid. And yes, we're smarter than the average RWBY fan, but there's other people that are smart and probably smarter than us that watch the show and enjoy it. So, I mean, I've seen other people make some really good points about the show and have some really good ideas in Facebook groups and things like that they don't need the shit spoon-fed either. And I don't know, there's other shows that don't spoon-feed shit like this too, and, you know, the fans are just dumb and don't always understand what's going on. Why can't we just do that?
Another really, really great piece of world building that is not at all related to Lord of the Rings is the first arc in Naruto, where the first arc in Naruto doesn't really matter to the whole plot, except maybe, like, serving as the foundation of Naruto and Sasuke's friendship, but it's just a mission, and in that arc, the Land of Waves arc, we see how the shinobi world works in its entirety, and then everything else is just like escalates from there throughout the series.
Literally hits the fan.
Yeah, but like the whole war economy thing, which Kishimoto was doing several years before frickin' Hideo Kojima was doing it with Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, checkmate, Kojima fanboys. But yeah, the whole war economy...
That's a group of fans you don't want to piss off because I'm one of them.
I don't care. Hey, disclaimer, I do actually enjoy the Metal Gear Solid games. I just don't think they're as great as a lot of people say they are. But the whole, like, war economy that first wave set up with the, like, different nations hiring different shinobis from different villages for different missions. So you got, like, Tenzin hires the Leaf Village to be his bodyguards, but then Gato hires the Mist Village to assassinate Tenzin, and then that just creates conflict between the Mist Village and the Leaf Village. But you can't really resolve it because, hey, war is, like, not okay, and the shinobi just have to deal with it themselves.
This is a really long Naruto.
Yeah.
Aside,
you should just rename it for the Naruto cast. But yeah, so
I would love to do a Naruto cast.
I mean, I've watched 10 episodes of Full Metal Alchemist, and I feel like I know more about their world than I know about Remnant.
Oh yeah. Well, Full Metal Alchemist has the thing that's like their whole world is built around just one core concept, which is the give and receive thing, the law of equivalent exchange, and everything else is just kind of like shoots off from there, and all of it's like European allegories and stuff. So it's very relatable.
But it makes sense, and I understand what's going on, and I'm learning about their society and the way they do things. Like there's tons to that with just like people's reaction to alchemists, and you know the episode where he goes over to the eastern or whatever area where with the mines and everything.
I can't remember the name of that town.
With the mines where it's not much less controlled, and so they show all of that kind of shit. So yeah, just I wish RWBY did that more and did it more consistently. So let's go to the next one, Faunus, which probably the worst one of this entire series, I think. One of the worst ones they've ever done.
No, the next one is the worst one, but you're missing a freaking steaming pile of shit.
Oh, Between the Kingdoms, that's right. Another pile of shit.
Between the Kingdoms was legitimate.
Oh my god, that one makes me cry.
In every single way. It was one of the first to say it's not everyone likes the kingdoms in the cities. That's why they live in.
Yeah, I mean, usually
in these towns. No shit. Natural barriers to strong defenses help. Otherwise, you're kind of fucked. Gee, that's not even like RWBY equivalent. Like everybody knows that just in general. bandits are a major issue, and then it spends most of between the kingdoms episode talking about bandits. Actually, it's not even really about between the kingdoms. It's basically a world about bandits, which we already learned everything about in the episodes anyway. Again,
so I hate this episode with a passion too, but wow, I was not expecting that. Usually RWBY waits until after the World of Remnant comes out to invalidate it, but this one did it beforehand.
This time they fucking did it before!
With the episode Remembrance, with the freaking, the Grim Tracker, and then the talk about the bandits attacking Xi'an, and then the next video after that, because we had like the first 2 episodes, and then we had a World of Remnant for, whatever reason, I can't remember. But I know it was a good reason. But yeah, it's like we just learned this in the actual series.
Yeah,
it hurts,
and we learned it better. That's the thing. Like that episode was really good with the bandit clan striking, and then we learned that it was Raven, all that kind of stuff. That was actually very well done. That was good world building from RWBY. In my opinion, I think it was. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with that in general?
Yes and yeah, but it does point out kind of like just a problem with not the world building, but the world that's been built, and that's like where did these bandit clan guys come from, and just the whole like sociology thing, and like, oh hey, the Grim have been around for as long as humanity, or even longer, and so why hasn't it had like a significant change in like human culture?
Here's the thing: the Grim would have been so much better if the negative emotion didn't actually matter, and they just like to attack humans. That would have been much better. I don't know why the negative emotion thing even had to exist, because it never really. They try to make it relevant, and sometimes it's relevant, sometimes it's not. And it really doesn't actually.
Because you think like RWBY.
It's a really good idea.
Grim.
It's a really good idea, but an idea like that requires for you to like set up the world to be built around that, and they don't. Batman Falling, in his Volume 3 review, I believe, had a really just on the point quote: "Remnant isn't its own world; it's Earth with extra stuff tacked on."
Yeah. That is kind of what it is. And at least, see, that's the difference. And that's the funny thing about it is, again, Tolkien reference. Middle Earth is actually supposed to be this Earth, long time ago. And it still feels more unique than Remnant does. Remnant just feels like Earth, but slightly different. And Middle Earth, which is actually supposed to be this Earth, but ancient, feels way different, way more different, way more unique, magic. Way more special. Harry Potter! Their universe is more unique than Remnant.
Is our world.
It is with literally just our world in the late 1980s through the 1990s, and it still feels way more special and way more interesting than Remnant does. That's I know that's technically an opinion, but it's also technically a fact.
Yeah, it is. It does do a lot better job than RWBY, but Harry Potter, I would actually consider on like the lower end as far as world building goes.
Well, that's the point. And that's the point. It's not the show, that book series. The world building isn't even like the greatest thing. Yeah,
it's not even important because Harry Potter is a very character centric series, and they keep the stakes focused on Harry Potter and the kid and his friends, and J.K. Rowling works the entire narrative with that as an advantage instead of a disadvantage.
Yeah.
By actually using a school setting the way you would use a school setting.
Yeah, properly. Yeah, I mean, so world building is good where it needs to be. Like the school feels awesome, and it feels much more alive than Beacon does. That's for damn sure. She makes points to learn to teach you about the school itself and the school's magic and everything like that.
Yeah, apparently Beacon only has 5 teachers if you count.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what the fuck? We don't.
And one of them is only named once in the series and once in Chibi.
Yeah, exactly. And we still haven't seen
and the whole Chibi thing was a joke about like, hey, we haven't shown this teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
We never will.
Yeah. So, yeah, Between the Kingdoms doesn't tell us anything new, important, interesting, and it's already been invalidated before it even came out. So it's pretty much one of the worst.
I would say it is the worst. Like, that is the thing that, like, it surpassed the Volume 2 Kingdoms World of Remnant on my shit list. It is up there with the freaking RWBY recap that they tried doing.
Oh, God, don't even. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, that is so bad.
So that was shit.
Yeah,
it was
the
the worst.
recap was legitimately bad.
It was the worst until the next one, which is the funnest one. So we get the worst World of Remnant we've ever had, and then they managed to make an even worse one after that. So the funnest
I
one,
disagree with you on that, but
Really?
I'll have my own rant about it. I do not like it by any extent of the imagination, but I think between the...
I think completely ignoring biology is even worse to me.
Well, and you can't freaking knock the World of Remnant video itself for that.
Well, that's part of the World of Remnant video, though. That's where we
blame that again. That's not a problem with the world building. That's a problem with the world built.
Well, I know, but it's still a problem with this World of Remnant, though, because that's where we technically learn about that information.
Yeah. It's
so
like
that's kind of
basically. I'm saying don't shoot the messenger, and dude saying light the messenger on fire.
But the messenger is written by the same people who created the message. So you're really only burning the same people. You're burning the same thing. That's why I'm burning this, because it's the same thing. So yeah, it doesn't tell us anything new. It ignores biology by talking. Well, actually, I'll let Media mention that. You could probably explain that better. But and there's stuff at the end. Again, it's more bullshit. Man, they fought the faunus because they were afraid of them. I mean, that's the same thing as racism in our world. We don't need to know that. We already know that shit. That's already been explained, and it gets explained more later. You can get any faunus from two different faunus. Yeah, that's ignoring biology. And the other thing is, it's so easy to avoid because it would still probably be basically bullshit. But it would have made at least slightly more sense if you get one of the 2 parent faunus traits. You hand one of those down to the kid. Yeah,
and I'll explain that using some other examples from other series. But there is one little tiny gold nugget in this steaming pile of dookie. And that is the story, like, how Vale became less racist. Which is in this video, where, I'm assuming it was during the Great War. During the part of the Great War where just the Grimm were running wild, and, like, different armies would have, like, temporary ceasefires just to deal with the Grimm before they got back to killing each other. Like, that era of the Great War. Where Grimm were invading a town, and the only reason
that was made irrelevant by that episode later.
Yeah, and the only reason why anybody survived was because the faunus and the humans in that village worked together for the better good, and that's like why Vale became less racist, because it was in the Vale area. But yeah, like I like that part. I think that's a good story. I kind of want to see that as a full like flashback episode.
Which they could have done instead of telling it to us in this way, though.
Yeah, do like have like Jordan Swearts do like a 2D animated Tales of Remnant, where it's just like these random stories from Remnant's history, fully animated by his team. And like that would be really cool, and this would make a good episode.
Would have been
good little episode of that. But yeah, that is why I can't say that this is worse than Between the Kingdoms. And yeah, also Between the Kingdoms has one of my biggest pet peeves, and that's who is the audience of this. In that Crow is obviously talking to somebody, and that somebody is obviously a huntsman. So then why is he telling all that? Like, again, it just goes back to, like, it's all stuff that we already know, and it's all stuff that the people in the series already know, so who is this series intended for? But yeah. Anyway, the faunus. So...
It's still the 2 worst episodes in a row, I would say, though.
Yeah. As far as World of Remnants go, I would probably say it would go between the kingdoms, then the first kingdoms from Volume 2. Then I would probably have to have Aura up there as well. Because Aura did the whole semblances are completely unique
shit.
line. Like, that right there already.
The Huntsman and Huntresses one was also really shit also.
I actually like that one, but that's one where the only problem with the Huntsman episode was the fact that they did invalidate it by having it better stated in the series. But on its own, it was alright. It was alright like the first time you watch it.
It's not as bad as Faunus.
Then I would probably have the Faunus, and then probably the Vital Festival tournament would be up there as well. And then maybe then also the Grimm one would be up there. I don't know. Maybe for as part of my World of Remnant review coming up, I'll do like ranking them all from like worst to least awful.
I mean, technically for me, the number one worst one is all of them. They just shouldn't exist. But anyway. So you were gonna say something about the actual episode that we're talking about right now.
I'm gonna talk about why this genetic stuff is absolute nonsense. So they try to treat Faunus traits like a genetic trait, which works when they talk about like a wolf Faunus and a wolf Faunus make another wolf Faunus. Like, okay, yeah, that's good because he's getting those traits. But then it goes off the rails by saying that like I can't remember the examples he used, but like a cat Faunus and a monkey Faunus, for instance, wink wink, their kid could very well be a freaking scorpion. Which makes absolutely no sense on a number of levels. For one, where is he getting the scorpion traits from? Two, is it just... Yeah, the whole... man. Genetic... So... Yeah, genetic indicators and stuff like hair color and stuff. Like, that's how I thought the Faunus traits were going to go. Where, like, it was a set of genes. But instead, they're trying to go the X-Men route. Where, in X-Men, there's only one gene for mutant powers, and that's the mutant X gene. If you have that, then the power you get is basically random. Like, Cyclops and Jean Grey have a kid who can control machines, with a cable. And then, but I thought it was going to go the My Hero Academia route, which is, again, like, the quirks and stuff are genetic and they're sort of random. Maybe they match the people's personalities. But if both of somebody's parents have quirks, then they're either going to get one or the other, or a combination of the two. Like, I thought that's how Faunus traits were going to go. Like, taking Blake and Sun, for instance, because they're both Faunus, and I don't... And, yeah, I definitely ship them. Then, like, they have a kid, maybe they have a black tail. So they're getting, like, all the color genes from Blake, but they're getting the actual Faunus gene from Sun. That's, by the way, that's, how I have it in my fanfiction. So, if you really hate genetics and the way the Faunus genetics work in RWBY, check out my fanfiction, because it's better in that regard. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about the Faunus.
Yeah, and the rest of the info is invalidated by stuff before and after, because we already know we already know how racism works, okay? We don't need that fucking explained. It's the stupidest thing. We do not need to know about that. People in general know that shit. So that's just pure dumb. Alright, let's go to the Sneed Desk Company, because this one's actually kind of okay. I think it's funny that Crow kind of implies how much he hates them. That's sort of funny. At least it gives the World of Remnant a little bit of personality. We talk about Dimension Dust, which we don't really still know anything about Dust, which is weird because I don't mind knowing anything about Dust, kind of, because I hope they will learn about it more in the show rather than learning it from a World of Remnant. But really, it's something that they should have explained more about in the series anyway. But anyway, that's just, a little rant point. Schnee Company is basically a monopoly. It's founded by Weiss's grandfather, who is Nicholas Schnee, Santa Claus, whatever. He took advantage of the current industrial revolution at the time, went to combat school, also worked in his father's mine, and then studied a bunch of shit. Basically, he's a really hard worker, and he's fucking awesome. And then he went when his dad died, he took the money that his dad left him and went to go find a new dust deposit. And what do you know? He hit pay dirt, and he built a big trusted name for his company, used his combat skills to go and expand the mines to basically lead all the explorations out to the new expansions, the new mines, which got him respect from his company and his employees, and also respect from the people around him. He was very trustworthy. That's how the Schnee Company became so trusted around the world. And then because he worked so hard, he had to retire early, and then Jacques, who married into the Schnee name, took over the company, and he's a good businessman, but he's a fucking asshole.
That is my favorite part of that, the SEC, is that it's basically the plot of Santa Claus 3.
I know, it's so weird.
With Jacques Joulet in the role of Jack Frost, and Nicholas Schnee in the role of Santa Claus. And it's
Tim Allen.
It's so bizarre. Were they watching the Santa Claus 3 for whatever reason?
I don't know. I mean, I don't hate the idea of it, but again,
I don't either. Like, I just thought that was just a really funny observation.
So I mean, overall, this info is actually basically most of it new and fairly compelling and interesting. But again, wouldn't this have been better if it was in the episodes? Because a lot of this could have been gone over in this current volume with some of the socialites, or with Weiss and her family, because we've got. I would
say last volume, because last volume is when we really
was my main point. That was my main point, is that we could have gotten most of it between Weiss and Winter in their interactions.
Because that's where we finally got like a little bit of Weiss's motivations, and there's like, wait, her motivations make no sense. And then this episode, this World of Remnant came out like, oh, now her motivations actually do make sense.
Why did we have to have a World of Remnant to make Weiss's motivations make sense?
Yeah, this whole reveal was just way too freaking good for World of Remnant.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why is that reveal what we're going to get? That is terrible. Why can't we? If it was revealed in the show, it would have been so much better. Because this episode was good information and interesting, but it's tainted because it would have been so much more hyped and just a stronger reveal if it was in the episode. So that's the point, is that this is one of the best World of Remnants, and actually, in my opinion, it's my favorite. I think it's the best done overall. Maybe the Great War is the other best one, but it's still shit because it's taking away from something that should have been revealed in the show instead.
Yeah, especially since, like, in episode 4 of Volume 3, they were, like, talking crap on Papa Schnee and, like, how Winter doesn't really care for him either. And then, but she also holds the, like, Schnee name in high regard, so it created a little bit of confusion there. Now we know why, and wouldn't it have been awesome if, like, in that monologue we just got a little passing mention of the fact that Jacques is not naturally a Schnee, and it just would have done so much for those characters in establishing their motivations earlier on, and maybe even built up a bit of Jacques and what he is willing to do for power.
Yeah, exactly. Again, fairly interesting information, and I like it, but it's why here is really the point. So that's really the biggest complaint with that one. So that's kind of the problem with World of Remnant as a whole, is even the best one, at least in my opinion, that's the best one. It's definitely one of the best ones. It's still terrible because of just what World of Remnant is in the first place. It fails before you even hear any information, because it shouldn't exist. We should get it in the episodes. That's better storytelling. So the next one, just move on to the next one, right? We don't really have much more to say, right?
The next one is the Great War.
Yeah, the Great War. So again, this one's actually quite entertaining. This would be my other candidate for best World of Remnant they've ever done, but it still has the same problems again. So it's definitely an interesting story in its own right. I'm really happy they didn't retcon anything here, really, because I was really worried about that, considering how long it was going to be.
Yeah, High Powered was worried about it being like retconning like the Faunus War, and I was worried about this last World of Remnant being a rehash of the Tale of Two Brothers we got in episode 8 of this volume. That was my biggest fear, was that it was just going to be that story again.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being a fear. But it wasn't, thank God. And
so basically, like, breaking down what happened in the Great War is that for a few centuries, tensions just got high because people are dicks. And then Mantle and Mistral were big trading partners, and Mantle was the one where the color Nazis mentioned in Volume 2, where they found a way to combat the Grimm by basically turning off their emotions and outlawing art. And they urged Mistral to do the same thing. Mistral, being much more art heavy, were like, we'll do that. And then they didn't actually follow those laws in their own big main city, but they forced the outskirts of Mistral to follow those laws. And they were expanding into Vale's territory. Nobody knows who shot first. My money's betting on Salem being the one who shot first. And war just erupted between Vale, Mantle, and Mistral against Vale. Mantle and Mistral had already kind of like subjugated Vacuo at this point. And Vacuo were trying to stay neutral throughout the conflict. And push came to shove, and Vacuo were like, screw you guys, we're going to join Vale. So then it was Vale and Vacuo versus Mantle and Mistral, M's versus V's. And
basically, yes.
and Mantle and Mistral tried taking the Vacuo dust mines, which we know from the previous World of Remnant about Vacuo, that Vacuo has the greatest dust mines, or the largest dust mines in the world. This is why, like, I think that it was supposed to be like the Four Kingdoms, and then like maybe the Between the Kingdoms, and then Great War. But I think the Schnee Dust Company World of Remnant was actually forced in when they needed another World of Remnant, because I think they were originally going to do like a Kingdoms Part 2, Between the Kingdoms, Faunus, then Great War, and then the Great War being one that ties it all together. And yeah, the King of Vale, who has some interesting theories sprouting out about him now.
A lot.
Saw to the battle himself and wiped out. Basically, he wiped out all of Mantle Mistral's forces and forced them to submit, and then pulled a George Washington and was like, "I don't want all this power. Let's go meet on the island of Vital, and figure out a peace treaty that benefits everyone."
Pretty much.
And that is how the World of Remnant, as we're supposed to know it, began.
Yeah, and so I mean that's a pretty interesting story as a whole. I guess I would say the problem with it, the biggest problem with it to me, is that a lot of that information is stuff that we've gotten in other World of Remnants. So the World of Remnant's already invalidated by, or at least much of the World of Remnant information is invalidated in the show. This World of Remnant is extra special in kind of in a bad way, because it's a World of Remnant that invalidates other World of Remnants, which is just more going to show how stupid World of Remnant is in the beginning, just in the first place, because this is another World of Remnant.
Conceptually.
Yeah, it's a World of Remnant that invalidates other World of Remnants. Why? It's they're so stupid.
And I've heard a lot of people, like people who commented on my videos about World of Remnants, that are like, "Oh, you should take it as what it is, an exposition series." Yeah, but it delivers exposition badly. Like, oh, it's mostly just to give people a break. Like, but Miles and Carrie still have to take time out of their day to write this stuff.
Yeah.
Yisa and the 2D animation crew still has to take time out of their day to animate this stuff.
Like
somebody's got to edit this. Some poor soul has to edit this stuff.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I would much rather have nothing than World of Remnants, because they honestly weaken the show at times. That's how bad they are. They're so bad that they actually weaken the show, because sometimes the information that's given here hurts reveals in the show. For example, the stuff about the Shnees. That episode, the Schnee Dust Company episode of World of Remnant, was one of the better World of Remnant episodes. But it would have been so much better in the show if it was given there instead. So that is actually World of Remnant making the show RWBY worse. So that is the final nail in the coffin for how shitty and fucking retarded World of Remnant is, and why it should just fucking die in a hole.
Yeah, Volume 5 wish list, no World of Remnants.
Just get the fuck rid of them.
Which won't happen, because apparently there's still people that like these.
And that is proof of how stupid much of the RWBY fan base is, that they actually like these goddamn World of Remnants. Which, again, we've talked this entire time about how stupid they are. But the fact that they take away reveals from the show and weaken the show itself, I mean, that's not even an opinion at that point. That's just, they're bad. You can't even argue with that. I mean, people will because they're dumb.
Yeah, like another anecdotal evidence, like of what you were just saying. Fatman Fallen has been doing these reactions with Celtic Phoenix, who is my spirit animal, with the RWBY episodes. And Fatman Falling actually does watch the World of Remnants because he likes to make fun of them. Celtic Phoenix does not. When it got to the part where Jacques slapped Weiss, Celtic Phoenix was like, "Oh my god, that's actually a really good moment and a really good reveal." And Fatman was just like, "Yeah, but they invalidated it last week with a World of Remnant." And the look on Celtic Phoenix's face was like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me."
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the point. It's like, that guy had a genuinely shocked and interested reaction when that happened. Because in the show by itself, that would have been great. And I'm angry that they took that away from me with the World of Remnant. It's just so fucking stupid. Yeah, they really is no defense for the World of Remnant at all. Because if they need a break, then give us nothing. Take a week off. Fine. That's okay. We don't need to have... If that's what they have to do, then fucking do that.
Give us an episode of Chibi.
Give us an episode of Chibi, or nothing. Nothing is better than World of Remnant, literally. I'd rather have nothing. I mean, because real TV shows, they do have off weeks sometimes for certain things. So if they have to do that with this show,
and shows like Gravity Falls have off months where they just like go on hiatus for no reason except to clean up the animation and make sure everything looks perfect.
Yeah, and you can complain about that too, but you know what? At the end of the day, I'd rather have that.
I mean, I would be too. Obviously, Gravity Falls is freaking awesome.
So I'd rather have that as the excuse. I'd rather have nothing. I mean, I don't really think there's much more to talk about at this point because High Powered seems to be having a really long Fedora tip right now.
Yeah.
And we're just ranting about how shitty these things are.
Yeah, I think he might have fallen aslep on us.
Yeah, there's not much more to talk about at this point. Yeah. They're garbage. And
do you want to do a little bit of theorizing on how they're going to find a way to invalidate this most recent World of Remnant?
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Do you already have an idea? Because I need to think about this. I haven't thought about this yet.
So I think the King of Vale from that time is going to be really important. It kind of implies that might have been Ozpin's predecessor. Yes. But it also implies, like, I personally think that this king is going to be a play up of King Arthur, and that Ozpin's predecessor was basically his Merlin, like helped teach him and stuff, and that was Ozpin's cane, but he had given it to the king to use. And that, if that is Ozpin's cane that the king is holding in this world of Remnant, then that basically confirms that Ozpin's cane is the relic. Because I really think that they put this world of Remnant where they did because of the relics, and the relics being the big MacGuffin this volume, and probably this whole season, and probably the rest of the series actually, hopefully. Then yeah, I think that was one. I also think the crown was one, and the sword was one, because World of Remnant has a very distinct style, which is very color specific, and everyone, like, take the King of Mistral, for instance. Everything he wears is a different shade of Emperor, whatever. Everything he wears is a shade of blue. Everything the King of Vale wears is a shade of green, except the crown and the sword. And he's the only character in all these World of Remnants like that, except one guy in the Vital Festival World of Remnant who was green but had a red scarf.
Oh yeah.
Who I think that guy with the green guy with the red scarf might have been a predecessor to RWBY. Like one previous Silver Eye Warriors, or maybe just somebody from that family tree. But that's my own, like, little theory on that. But yeah, I think we're gonna find out more about this, and I also think we're gonna find out about it maybe through Jean.
Yeah. That was my angle. I'm not sure about the king. I could see Jean being related to him. I'm not sure about that, but I could see it.
Yeah, I don't really buy that either, but Jean would know more about the Great War than the other people, because he's when we first found out that there was a Great War from back in the beginning of Volume 1.
Yeah. So for me, yeah, I guess it's possible that it's Jean is related, but I'm going with more that he's not related, but like he knows Ozpin. I see it. I think that's what it is. I think he's more closely tied to Ozpin. The cane thing is really what I'm looking at too. I think that the cane is Ozpin's cane, or like the scepter is Ozpin's cane, or something like that. And I feel like, yes, we'll probably learn some stuff about like that from Jean, or maybe from somebody like Glinda eventually. Somebody maybe who's actually back in Vale. But either way, they're definitely going to invalidate it, because they're going to give us all this information eventually anyway. And they could have at least told us some things about the Great War in the first or second volume in all the school shit, because at least Harry Potter gave us some information about the world through the school lessons, which they don't do here. At least, well, they did in one. I think they did it once or twice, but not very much. And they could have done a better job with it. So
they did it. I know they definitely did it in during like the Jaundice episode, and it was the one thing that kept Jaundice from the bottom of my episode rankings when I did that leading up to Volume 4. Is because there was that one scene with Oobleck talking about the faunus in the classroom, where they actually utilized the classroom setting as both character stuff and world building stuff. And yeah, I think that's basically it as far as like real world building done through the school setting.
Yep, that was it. That was pretty good. I liked that episode. I like that part of the episode, at least.
Yeah, nobody likes that episode. Yeah, even people who love RWBY and think that it could do no wrong hate the Jean arc.
The Jean arc is honestly as bad as World of Remnant is. The Jean arc is still the worst thing RWBY has ever done, I would say. If they do another World of Remnant that invalidates as big reveal like the Weiss's dad fuck up they just did, this volume. If they do something else that bad, then World of Remnant will be worse than the Jean arc. But until then, the Jean arc is still the worst thing RWBY's ever done. And that includes all the terrible moonwalking they did for the first 2 volumes. And that was pretty bad. The moonwalking was pretty goddamn awful. Trust me, when I make my abridged series, there will be many moonwalking jokes.
I can't knock, even though I will nitpick animation and stuff, I can't really knock a lot of animation quality for a series like RWBY. It's just, it doesn't have enough time or money thrown at it to get it to really look good all the time.
It's very indie, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that's not my biggest complaint. I'll just make fun of it.
So long as the center of the frame isn't Arslan's foot floating, or something on that level, then I'm fine with whatever they do with the animation.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I mean, at least they don't have anything that bad this volume. Thank fucking God.
No, this volume's looked really nice. Although, in the best episode of the volume, they did, or no, it wasn't that episode. It was the episode before it. Yang, one of the first Yang scenes. Comparing Yang to the kitchen, everything is so like weirdly proportioned. But anyway, yeah, that's a
that's
nitpick.
Not that big of a deal. That episode was still pretty good otherwise. But yeah, it's not the end of the world.
That's somebody else. That's 2 different people handling the set and handling the characters, and then not talking to each other for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And just trying to go off of concept art.
Yeah.
But I think that pretty much wraps it up.
This has been the Mediocrity 4 and Dude What the Heck podcast.
Yeah.
where both of us just talk about how shitty World of Remnant is.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
If anybody's made it through this entire thing, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hilarious.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun. Like I had a lot of fun blowing off steam about this.
This is great. Yeah, this is fun. It makes me feel slightly better about all this shit.
Yeah.
Hopefully, join us next week when we get some fucking Renora.
Episode 10.
If the episode starts, like I said last time, if the episode starts with me screaming at the top of my lungs and breaking your ears, then you know Renora happened.
Oh, that would just be your intro. Like, I'll be like, I'm Mediocrity 4, and then you'll just be like, the high powered will do his intro, then you'll just be like,
No, I won't even let you guys do an intro.
Oh my god. Or no, you do that the whole way through as we're just doing our intro and ignoring you until it gets to you like, I'm Dude What the Heck, and I'm so happy.
Yeah. Renora.
Yes. Yeah, we need Renora. So
that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, I'm gonna plug myself in, and then if I guess High Powered like just fell asleep on us. But
I still see his thing is triggering, but I'm not hearing anything. If you look at the thing, his mic is triggering, but he's not doing anything. We're not hearing anything.
Yeah.
Do you see that though?
Yeah, I see that.
And he's not typing,
I'm gonna feel bad. Yeah.
He might be actually sleeping. That could be his.
Oh my goodness.
His breath sleeping. That would be hilarious. Did he type in general? No, he didn't. That was Full Metal. All right, so yeah, we have no idea where. Where.
High Powered is. I know he's still working on Operator Man. That's probably all he'd plug.
Yeah. But he never says where he's gonna post it from, so we don't really have anything to plug there.
Yeah, he's still working on it, and yeah. Oh my goodness. So here's what I got a lot of stuff I'm working on right now. RWBY on Generations is still going. Guardians of Terra is still going. You can find links in the descriptions to both of those. Then next week after the next episode, I will have a review out for that, and also for episode 11 and 12. Then with that, when the volume ends, I got a lot of stuff planned for you guys.
Now he's gone.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of stuff planned, including the review for episode 12, a Valentine's Day special.
Oh, I look forward to that one.
About Renora. Hey, High Power's not dead.
I figured it out. I just had to restart Discord. I feel really dumb now.
It's okay. It was just the dude and media ranting about how shitty the
we were just going back and forth.
We're like, this sucks, and he's like, and then the other one's like, yes, that does suck. I agree. Why does it suck so much? Well, I'll explain why it sucks so much. Do you agree that it sucks so much because of this? Yes, I do agree it sucks so much because of this. And in fact, it also sucks because of this reason. Oh, that's a great reason why it sucks also. I didn't even forgot about that reason why it sucked. God, it sucks even more than I thought it did. Wow, yes, it does. It's really awful.
Yeah.
That's basically what we were doing the entire time.
Yeah, that's a good summary of this podcast.
Yeah, that's the podcast.
So after the volume ends, I'm gonna do a review of that final episode as a single episode. Then Valentine's Day will be coming up, and I'll be working on a Valentine's Day special. Then I've got the World of Remnant breakdown, a 2-part opening breakdown where I'll be going through all 4 openings. Mother's Basement,
cool. That's
Mother's Basement style. I decided to split it up into 2 parts. I was doing scripting for the first, for what is now the first half, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm only halfway through, and I've already got this much to talk about. So that'll be 2 parts, and then I also have something really really special planned after that, and I'm not gonna say it here. But I know Dude and High Powered already know.
Tell me, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I already told you.
Yeah, I remember.
I think I know you're talking. I think I know you're talking.
But I will be announcing.
Oh yeah, I do know what you're talking about. Yes, I do remember what you're talking about. That's pretty good. Yes.
I will be.
That's exciting.
I'll probably announce that when we do our big 3-hour-long breakdown of the entire volume.
I've already decided we will
podcast.
do so this is a fair warning for everyone, and media has final say on it. But we will do our character breakdown of the last episode for one podcast. We will have as the final podcast for the volume as a overview of everything, and then in between the two, we will have a separate podcast for the theorizing of what the abstract fuck is going to happen for the 5th volume.
For volume 5.
Yeah, so it's going to be it's going to be a 3-parter.
Fast.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Now, are we gonna record that all at the same time? Or are we gonna
No,
we're gonna do it during different days.
Goodness, no, that would be like 8 hours, and I ain't got 8 hours in a single day, especially since I'll be back in school then.
Those we can do during the weeknight, though, right? Probably.
Maybe. I don't know what my school schedule is gonna look like.
Okay.
Yeah, I go back in like a week and a half. But yeah, until next time when we talk about episode 10 and our hopefully way more positive, not just a little more positive, but hopefully way more positive than we were in this podcast. I'm Mediocrity4. This has been the RWBY Podcast. Thanks for watching.